Hey everyone, welcome back to another video of ours. Now this time we're going through a holiday lesson, and this holiday lesson's on improper fractions and also mixed numbers. Okay, so we're going to make sure we master how to change an improper fraction into a mixed number and vice versa. So mixed fraction back into improper fractions. So how can we do this? Let's jump onto our whiteboard and figure this out. So we've got a question here. We've got an improper fraction here. How do I know it's an improper fraction? Well, we know it's an improper fraction because the numerator is larger than the denominator. And we're going to change this into a mixed number. So in order for us to do that, let's have a quick look at the steps we need to take, because we might have forgotten some of the steps. So the first step is for us to make sure we know how many make one whole. Okay, so for each question, look at the denominator and figure out how many of those that make one whole. So let's have a look at our denominator. Our denominator is 5, which means it's fifths. So if we think about one whole and it's going to have 5 equal parts, then that must mean there needs to be 5. These are all fifths. There needs to be 5 fifths, 1/5, add another fifth, add another fifth, add another fifth, add another fifth. All of this makes one whole, right? Because 5 fifths is equal to one whole. And so that tells me that, okay, I need 5 fifths. And how many make one whole? I know 5 fifths makes one whole. Right, so now that that's done, step 1. What's step 2? How many wholes can I make? Okay, let's go back now. So I've got 5 fifths here. I'll highlight that. I've got my 5 fifths. That makes one whole. I need to work out how many wholes I can make with 13 fifths. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you this visually. You don't have to draw it out every single time. I'm just showing you for this occasion. I've got my fifths here, and I've got another, let me get rid of all of this. I've got another fifth here, and another 5 fifths, sorry, I should say here. So I've got 5 fifths, another 5 fifths. I've got 10 fifths. And so I've got 13 fifths altogether here. And out of the 13 fifths, I've got my 10 fifths here. This is how I write 10 fifths. That tells me that I can make 2 wholes, because that's one whole and that's another whole. And so I can make 2 wholes with my 13 fifths. 5 times table, 5, 10, 15. I don't have 15 fifths, but I definitely have 10 fifths, right? 5, 10. So I can make 2 wholes there. So I'm really checking how many 5s go into 13. How many times can I divide 13 into groups of 5s, right? So 5, 10. I can have 2 groups of 5s with 13, and then I'll have another 3 left over. 3 what though? Now remember, these are fifths, and so we will have another 3 fifths left over. 1/5, 2 fifths, and 3 fifths. So a fifth, add a fifth, add a fifth is my 3 fifths. And so altogether, I can actually say 13 fifths is equal to 10 fifths, add 3 fifths. Because 10 add 3 is 13. And so now I've got that. I've worked out how many wholes I can make. The last step for us to finish this off is going to be where we just look at the remainder, which we've done. We've got 3 fifths, and then we put all of that together. And so I've got 10 fifths, which is equal to 2 wholes. I can see 1 whole and another whole. 10 fifths is 2 wholes, and I've still got my 3 fifths here. So 10 fifths is 2 wholes and my 3 fifths. So add 3 fifths. To add 3 fifths, we write that down as 2 and 3 fifths. So 13 fifths is equal to 2 and 3 fifths. Does that make sense? So let's have a quick think about what we've just talked about. First step was for us to work out how many make a whole. How many of the denominators we have make a whole. Now that can change every question. So we have to be careful not to use the same answer for the questions ahead of us, because it will change depending on the denominator. The second step is how many wholes can I make? So I had fifths as one whole, 5/5 is one whole. I had 13/5 altogether. So I asked myself, how many wholes can I make with 13/5? And we realized 10/5 is 2 wholes. 15/5 is 3 wholes, but we didn't have 15/5. We only had up to 13/5. And so we had 2 wholes and 3/5 altogether. And that remainder, that 3/5, we put together to make our mixed number. So 10/5 is 2 wholes. 3/5 was the remainder. We had to make 13/5, which is here. That's the remainder. 10/5 is our 2 wholes. 3/5, is our remainder. And therefore we have 2 and 3/5 all together as a mixed number. Does that make sense? Have a go at this question. So let's look at the questions. The first question was, how many do I need to make a whole? I've got what as my denominator? I've got ninths as my denominator. So how many ninths do I need to make whole? 9 ninths is equal to 1 whole. So I know I need 9 ninths to make a whole. Now 9 times table, 9, 18. 18 ninths would make 2 wholes, right? I don't have 18 ninths, so I've only got 15 ninths. So that actually will make just 1 whole, because 9 ninths is 1 whole, right? So let me write that down as a fraction though. 9 ninths is a whole. 15 ninths is 9 ninths, add another 6 ninths. And so 9 ninths add 6 ninths is equal to 15 ninths. 9 plus 6 is 15, right? That's 15 ninths. Now 15 ninths can be written as a mixed number, right? 9 ninths is 1 whole, and I've got my 6 ninths, add 6 ninths. But in this question, I've written down, write down your answer in its simplest form. So we know 6 ninths is equal to, what number can I divide both 6 and 9 by? What's the largest number? I can divide both of them by 3 to simplify. 6 divided by 3 is going to be 2, and 9 divided by 3 is going to be 3. So 6 ninths is equivalent to 2/3. 6 ninths in its simplest form is 2/3, and so my answer is going to be 1 and 2/3. 1 add 2/3, because 6 ninths is equivalent to 2/3, is equal to 1 and 2/3. So 15 ninths is equal to 1 and 2/3. Does that make sense? We need to learn how to, we've learned how to simplify, We need to know that we can simplify even with improper fractions and mixed numbers. So have a go at the questions for your whiteboard. Okay, so if you can go into a whiteboard, you should see lots of questions there, and you can have a go at those and answer those questions. But we also have mixed numbers to improper fraction questions in there. So if you get to that point and you're not sure, you can come back here and we can look at these 2 questions I've got ahead of us. Okay, so for mixed numbers to improper fractions, that's a slightly different way, right? It's going to be like the opposite way in a way. So we're going to look at mixed numbers to improper fraction. Let's look at the steps. What does it say first? It says change the whole. Okay, so I've got 3 wholes here, and I want to change the whole into a fraction. Now, what fraction should I put that as? Should I put it as halves, thirds, quarters, fifths? Well, the really important part for this is, it says here, use a denominator in the mixed number to work out what whole number converts to as an improper fraction. So I've got the denominator here is quarters. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my 3 wholes into quarters. Now I know 1 whole, if this is 1 whole bar and I change it into quarters, I know there's going to be 4 quarters here. I've got 3 wholes, so I'm going to have 3 lots of these, right? So let's duplicate that. 1 whole, 2 wholes, and 3 wholes. All together, I can see that this is 3 wholes, and that's equal to 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 4 quarters, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. These are 12 quarters altogether. Remember, each one of these is a quarter. And so there's 12 of those quarters altogether. That's 12 quarters. That's how we write 12 quarters here. Now, what we did there is really the whole number multiplied by the denominator. That told me that there's 12 quarters in 3 wholes. But 3 3/4 is the same as well. We just worked out 3 wholes is 12 quarters. And we know 3/4 is just 3/4. And so all together, 3 3/4, the mixed number 3 3/4, as an improper fraction is going to be, well, 12 plus 3 is 15. And I've got quarters here. So there's going to be 15 quarters altogether. So I know that's whole, that's another whole, that's another whole, that's 12 quarters. But I've also got this 3/4 here. So I'm going to draw that out. My 3/4 are going to be 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to just shade that in. So I've got my whole here, 4 quarters, another whole, 8 quarters altogether, another whole, 12 quarters, 4, 8, 12, and I've got 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 here, and this is not part of the 3/4. That's 3/4. And so all together, what do you see I have? Can you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 quarters, just as we wrote down here. 3 3/4 is equal to 15 quarters. And this is at 3/4. And so all together, all of this is 15 quarters. Does that make sense? So what did we do? Let's have a recap before we go into our next question. And I left that denominator blank. So let's go back and see what we needed to do. The first step, change the whole. Second step, add the fractions. Okay, so let's see how we did that in our previous question. So we changed the whole. We had 3 wholes, we changed it into 12 quarters, and then we added the 3/4. 12 quarters add 3/4 gave us our final answer of 15 quarters. Okay, so let's have a look at the next question. Let's say this is 4 1/3. 4 1/3. How do I change this into a improper fraction? Well, actually, let me change the third to something else, right? 4 1/5. Does that change anything? Because I've changed the denominator? It should, right? Because the number of fifths I need in a whole is different to the number of thirds I need in a whole. One whole has only got 3 thirds, whereas the same whole will have 5 fifths, and so it makes a difference. So whatever we have as a denominator does make a difference. Okay, so let's have something else, right? Let's have sevenths. I've got 4 1/7. Can I change this into a mixed number? So our first step was change the whole. I've got 4 wholes. How many sevenths is that going to be? Why have I chosen sevenths? Because I've already got sevenths here, right? So I know 7 lots of sevenths is 1 whole. And so if I double that, that'll be 14 lots of sevenths. That'll be 2 wholes. And then triple 7 sevenths, 7, 14, 21. 21 sevenths makes 3 wholes. And therefore 28 sevenths, 7, 14, 21, 28. It's 4 times 7. 28 sevenths is going to be 4 wholes. Now my 4 wholes is 28 sevenths. But don't forget, I've still got this 1 7th head to add on. And so 28 sevenths is 4 wholes. And I've got 1 7th. That makes 29 sevenths. 4 1/7 is equal to 29 sevenths. Does that make sense? Does that work out? I have to add the other fraction for the mixed number to the whole number that I've changed into an improper fraction to make 29 sevenths. Okay. Don't forget, sometimes we can also simplify improper fractions. That might come up in your questions on your whiteboard. So have a look at those and let me know how you get on. If you have any questions, feel free to ask below. And don't forget, the whiteboard questions must be done before the next lesson, where I'll mark your work and then I'll give you any feedback that needs to be given to you if you've made any mistakes. So all done, and I'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.